Hi everyone, and welcome to the Birds of a Feather session for 12D Synergy. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Richard Stollier, and I'm the technical lead for 12D Synergy. During this Birds of a Feather session, we will be covering general information, more detailed concepts, and doing some demonstrations of the product. So we'll be covering specifically data management, 12D model management, and project collaboration with 12D Synergy. We will then follow up with some questions and answers. But overall, you can expect this to be a more detailed overview. So at the end of the day, 12D Synergy is meant to be easy to use, but it has many different levels of usage, from a beginning user through to an advanced user. So there's a lot to cover, and we're not going to be able to cover it all in these sessions, but we'll try to cover the things that we think will give you a good picture of the system. So let's talk about the architecture. This is an overview of the architecture of 12D Synergy. On the left-hand side, we have the 12D Synergy software sitting on a server within your office, or it could be a data center. And on the right-hand side, we have all the different types of clients that can connect to it. So this could be a 12D Synergy client program, or Outlook, or Excel, or Word. And these can be people connecting from within your office, such as a drainage engineer or the design manager. Or it could be somebody working over the internet from home if your IT infrastructure allows you to connect from outside. Now, it's important to note that security is really important to us, and whether you're inside the office or out, the data is secured with state-of-the-art security and encryption. We also have an offline mode which allows you to access your 12D Synergy data when you're working out in the field, and we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail later. So just a brief note about the structure of a job within 12D Synergy. Everything sits within a container called a job. And this has a variety of different things inside it, like collaborative elements like forums and tasks, but it also has other jobs, folders in a traditional Windows Explorer-like structure, which can include files and 12D model projects, and so on. And you'll see this in detail as we go through this demonstration. So when you connect to 12D Synergy, you can do it in several different ways. You can do it with the 12D Synergy client, which has a Windows Explorer-like look and feel. You can do it with the 12D Synergy administrator, which is really for administration tasks only, and only people who are given administrative rights will be able to use it. There's a command line tool for batch operation and scripting. And then there are a number of products which have plugins such as 12D Model, Microsoft Word, Excel and Outlook, and even some CAD application like BricsCAD and AutoCAD. So very briefly, let's talk about what happens when you work with a file in 12D Synergy. So when you open a file, it's actually downloaded to a local reserved area on your hard drive, which is called the workspace. Now you can always view your workspace with Explorer, but it's important to note that you're only going to get a copy of the files that you need when you need them. So if you're not working with a file, you're not going to get a copy of it. And you're always going to have the latest copy of that file delivered to you. If there have been no changes, you won't be delivered anything new. Because this can take up disk space, we do have a data cleaning utility which can come through and clean up that based on a number of different rules, such as whether or not someone has used the file lately, or the file is small enough that it would be negligible to download it every single time. So what happens when you check in a file? Well, the file is stored on the server, but it's not stored in a traditional file format. This means it's protected from random access by other people trying to use Windows Explorer and not use the system. It's important to note that only the differences between versions are saved, and this is at the byte level. So if only 10% of the file is changed, then that's what's stored on disk. So this saves on disk space. Now it's important to note that we do recognize that you may need to give this data to a third-party client, or you may need to store it off-site in a different format. So we always give you the capability to export that data back into a format and a structure that you would expect and that can be used as normal. We're now going to talk about 12D model management within 12D Synergy. So first, let's have a look at how 12D model projects are presented within 12D Synergy. You'll notice a couple of different 12D model projects sitting in our folder structure here. Let's go have a look at Design Roads. You can see a project description, the project details, and the project preview, which have all been extracted out of the 12D model project at check-in time. We can see some attributes, such as who designed it and who approved it. Now these have all been defined by the administrator and are completely customizable. what I'm going to do is just open the project. It's going to ask for a version, is it 32 or 64-bit, but it's detected that I'm working with version 11. It's going to ask me if there's any environment or dongle configuration, but I'm just going to hit open. At which point 12D Model starts and asks, do I want to check the project out, yes or no? If I don't check it out, it'll be opened in a read-only capacity, which will allow me just to have a quick look at things to see what's changed. But in this case, I'm going to check it out. Now, because this is the first time I've checked this project out, everything is going to be delivered to me this first time. On subsequent checkouts, only the things that have changed will be sent to me. And now my project has opened as normal. It's really very easy. So at this point I could do whatever I need to do, but what I want to show you is how you can, for example, store customization within 12D Synergy. So we can have a look at our env4d and have a look at our folders. You'll notice that the user folder and user library actually point to 12D Synergy paths. This means that when it looks for things like your symbols and your line styles and so on, it will actually go off to 12D Synergy and look within this location. This means that you can use your files in a standard way, but have an audit trail for your symbols and toolbars and so on. So if you need to roll back, you can, or if you need to see what's changed, you can. And in fact, it's very easy to work with these files. All I have to do, for example, if I edit my names.4d, let's pretend I make some changes. I'll hit write. And I could say, save it to the user folder, which is in Synergy, and hit write. Now, if we go back to 12D Synergy and have a look at our customization folder, you'll see the names.4d has been automatically checked out for me and is now in a change status. 12D Model will not check this in automatically for me, because it's likely I'll make 3 or 4 changes before I'm ready to check it back in. And having to fill out a description each time would be frustrating. In fact, you don't even have to come back to 12D Synergy to do this. If you are then ready, you can simply go to the 12D Synergy menu and click Pending Files and see all the files that you have checked out that you're working on. And when you're ready, you can check them back in. Our intention here is to allow you to use 12D Model the way you know how without having to leave it continually to make your changes. So even when you're ready to publish a change back to the server, you can simply go to 12D Synergy, check in project. Now this will detect all the changes. I can pick my description and hit check in, and only the things that have changed will be uploaded. Now note, this doesn't release my actual checkout because I'm probably going to continue to work on it. But if I'm completed, I can close 12D Model and check it in from the 12D Synergy client. But until then, we want to make sure that we're not disrupting your standard 12D Model processes. So we'll just exit this now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about sharing. When 12D Synergy manages a 12D Model project, you can even do sharing from outside the 12D Model project itself. So if I've decided that a number of different elements need to be shared or not, I can simply pick them from this list, and I could even apply particular permissions to them. So I can say which users can access which particular 12D Model elements, models or tins. Creating projects is also really simple. Just right-click, create 12D Model project, assuming I have permissions, and I'm going to create a drainage project at this point. So I pick my version, so I can either pick version 11 or version 10. It should be noted that version 10 has more limited capabilities in terms of 12D Model and 12D Synergy integration, so we're going to be working with V11 today. I can then fill out my attributes, so I'm just going to pick myself. I can also set up some permissions at this point, and because this is a drainage project, I'm going to allow the designers to see that it's there. They won't be able to open it, but they can share data from it. However, my drainage engineers can access everything they need to and create. And it's now created a blank 12D Model project for me, which I can begin to work with as normal. Alternatively, I can actually drag and drop into 12D Synergy. So I can take an existing project, drag it into my folder here. It'll prompt me for attributes. So again, I'm going to pick myself as the designer and click Set. It's going to show me a preview of what it thinks the structure is. So let's click Upload. And everything is then uploaded into the 12D Synergy server for storage. And now it's done. So if we have a look at our design highway project, this is what we've just added. We can then expand the folder, and you'll see that it looks like a standard 12D model project. There's a working folder, and there's a .project folder, which has all your models and so on. So what we're going to do now is open this up. And because it's the first time I've worked with it, again, everything is delivered to me. So the first thing we're going to do is share in some data from our survey project. So we go to Models, Sharing, Add. Now I've got some options here. Am I sharing from the file system or from 12D Synergy? It'll take me to my current job. Click Survey. And now it looks like it normally does. And the idea here is to not disrupt your processes. You know how to use 12D model projects already. We don't want to change the way you work. So I can go and share in a couple of different things here and click Add. And the data is shared. And this is how it would normally work. If data is updated on the 12D Synergy server, and if you've set it up, you will receive notifications to tell you that the sharing has been updated, so your 12D model project will update. Those processes are now normal. Now one of the other things you can do is actually to import data directly from 12D Synergy. So let's go and add a 12DA. So on the file box now, there are options to browse within 12D Synergy. So I can just click Browse, and I can go to my input data, click my 12DA. You'll notice this is now a 12D Synergy path, and I can click Read. And now my data has been read in. Now you'll notice that on the file box as well, there are other options. So I can have a look at the history of this file, or the details. So if something about it is not quite right, I can say, show me what's happened over the lifetime of this file. What has changed? Which means you can see, is there an email connected to this file? What information do I need to know to tell me what's gone on? Alternatively, writing out these files is very much the same. I can do a 12DA of my data here on this view. And when it's finished, I can simply add this file into 12D Synergy, tell it where I want to put it. In this case, I want to put it into my output directory and click Select. I want to move it in because I don't need it in my working folder. And in it goes. And again, the path has now been updated to a 12D Synergy path. If I continue to do changes, this file will be checked out automatically. And again, we're trying to make sure that your processes for 12D model don't change very much at all. Let's now have a look at the attributes for this project. If you have a look in here, you'll notice that there's a 12D Synergy option. And you'll see that all the project attributes and job attributes are available. So our job type, our job number, name, and so on, that's all available. As well as the actual 12D model project attributes that we filled out at time of creation and the 12D project name. Because these are project attributes, you can now use them in your standard processes. You can use them within your models and macros. You can use them within SLXs and design snippets. And you can even use them within the title block for plots. And when we're done, we simply check it back in. It'll tell us how many files have changed, and I can click Check In. And it's really that easy to work with 12D model projects and see all your changes and give you that capability for audit trail and revision control. I'm now going to talk very briefly about customization and implementation of 12D Synergy. It's important to realize, first of all, that all outgoing emails are customizable, so you can brand them however you need, and you can control what information appears in them. So if you need extra information about your own internal processes, they can all appear within your emails to make sure people are kept up to date about the information they need to know. Now, we have a complete customization built into 12D Synergy, and that gives you complete control over the server logic. So you can react to changes and do things like send emails when a task has been added or a file has been checked back in. Or you could feed it into another script if need be. You can validate changes to make sure that changes are allowed to occur. So for example, before a file can be checked in, make sure that it's gone through the necessary gates and review statuses before that can happen. You can perform regular operations over your data, like generate reports, or you could use it to synchronize with external packages such as an accounting package to feed into creating jobs, or for publishing extra information to other data systems. We have a full API available for use. It's a little bit like the 12D model macro language, but it uses Microsoft.NET, so there's a wide variety of tools and functionality available. Now, when you're implementing 12D Synergy, the package first of all comes with seed data, which contains ideas for job structures and templates. These are our recommendations to you for things like attributes and how you might structure your jobs, as well as some basic task templates to get you going. But defining your data structure can take time, especially if you don't have an organized data structure to start with. But you can always start using 12D Synergy and change the data structure later. It's important to identify one or two people who will become system administrators to control that data structure, so that not everybody is doing everything. That way you have only one or two people who know how it should all work and have control over those changes. But it's important to realize that getting your data in is really as simple as a drag and drop operation. And 12D Synergy can even detect things like 12D model shares, so that if you drag in 12D model projects that reference each other, those shares can be kept up to date and automatically mapped into the 12D Synergy format. Thank you very much for watching this 12D Synergy Birds of a Feather session.